Hello, we are going to learn about the pen tool. Now, this is something that is super, super important for you to know and to understand because it makes your life a little bit easier when you're trying to create an image. Um, so there's two different here, let me get this. Okay, there's two different kinds of like pen tools as we go along here. So I'm just going to show you a little bit and then we're going to go through a demonstration where I want you to follow along and do it with me. So this is the regular pen tool here, and then this is the curvature pen tool. And both of them have great purposes, and both of them are really nice to use. So the pen tool I particularly like a little bit better if I'm going to make like a whole object or a whole shape. The curvature tool is better for specific curves and those kinds of things. So right now I have my stroke set to red and my fill set to nothing. I like to work in the pen tool with no fill at first and then add it if I would like. The reason is because sometimes when we're using a fill, it will overlap it, and I'll show you that. So if we have a pen tool, we can click and drag and it makes a line. Click, drag, makes a line. I can make a closed shape. When I make a closed shape, I get a little circle next to my pen tool and there's a closed shape. So now I have that. If I wanted to make it a color, I totally could. But what the awesome part about the pen tool is that you can make curves. And when you do this, you have to do it a specific way. So if I wanted to make a curve right off the bat, I would click, make my anchor point, make my first point, and wherever I wanted the curve to end, I would click and hold. Don't let up. And then you drag your mouse. Click and hold and drag. And what that does is it changes the direction. It gets you like longer handles. So see how it fills in. So if I wanted to go back on it, sometimes it's hard to see. The thing about your extreme, like this is a very extreme curve, you can tell by my handles. The thing about that is it automatically wants to curve right after that. So sometimes it may not be bad, right? Sometimes I may want that curve. Other times I may not want it. So let's talk about like, because I have fill, if I was going in here and let's say I was tracing something, I can't see where I'm tracing. So that is why sometimes I like to have no fill. So I can always come back with my direct selection tool and change my curves. If it's not exactly what I want, I can change where my anchor points are. I can, there's so many different ways to manipulate what you are doing. So don't forget about your direct selection tool or your changing and moving your anchor points and then changing your handles. One cool thing that I really like to use is if I'm doing a curve and then I want to go somewhere straight. So if I do a curve, let's say a curve here, right? I click and drag and make this. Let's say after this, I wanted to have a straight line. It's not happening, right? So if I go back to that last anchor point and I double click, what it does is it resets it. So now I could maybe come here and do whoop. And sometimes when you move your handle, it does that. Make another curve this way, right? Or maybe I just want a straight line somewhere. So it's really nice. That double click is like a lifesaver with a lot of things that we do. That's how you use the pen tool. I'm going to erase all this. Oops. Erase. Let's go to the curvature pen tool just as an example. So the curvature pen tool, same thing, start with an anchor point and then you go to wherever else you want it to be, and you actually don't have to click and drag. It will automatically be a curve for you, so you can click and let go and then it makes curves. This is really nice if you're trying to make really nice smooth curves. But then the issue is that it goes back to a curve. So it's not a bad circle. It's not perfect, but it goes back to a curve. I can never get it to go to a straight line. Like if let's say I wanted that curve or whatever, then my next point has to be way down here. Maybe I didn't want my point down here. Maybe I wanted my curve to end here, right? If I double click, it does go to a straight line, but the curvature tool sort of has a mind of its own in the fact that you don't have a choice sometimes on how big your curve may be, unless you plan out ahead of time what size you want it to be, right? If you're tracing something and my curve ends here, maybe I do a middle one, do a little baby curve, and then come down here. So you just have to plan. Neither way is bad. And you can double click and make it straight with whatever you're wanting, but it will always be a curve unless you tell it to do something different. Okay, let's get to some practicing. I'm actually going to take this color out. I don't want it. So whenever you don't want to color a fill or you don't want to stroke, you need to come down here and have the little line through, and then you won't have it. What I would like you to do is I would like you to go to Google. Hey, it's not going to Google. I know it's sharing my screen. Okay, hold on. Go to Google here. I want you to type in Twitter logo, and I want you to get a Twitter logo. You are going to copy it, and then you're going to go back, and you're going to paste it. So I just did Control V. My Twitter logo is giant, so I'm going to zoom out real quick, and then I'm going to make it smaller. So just taking my selection tool, making it smaller so that it fits on my page. All right. I then want to lock that layer. So I have a layer here and it has an image on it. So that's why it's like that. I'm going to close it down and I'm going to lock it. That way it doesn't move. It doesn't do anything when I'm using it. I'm going to add another layer, and this is going to be my top layer. I want to zoom in a little bit though, because it's pretty far away to work. And I'm going to grab my pen tool. And right now it has no outline and no fill, which we want it to be an outline. I'm going to pick red because then I can see it on top of the blue a little bit better. And what we are going to do is we are going to trace on top of here and recreate this. I'm just going to use the regular old pen tool and I would like you guys to start off with this. If you want to switch to the curvature tool, that's perfectly fine, but I want you to take your time. And I want you to learn how to use the pen tool. It is important to learn how to use it because there are going to be times where the curvature tool doesn't fit the curve that you need. So I'm going to come here. I made a point. I'm going to come all the way down here, and I'm going to click and hold and drag until it lines up. Now I want to make a curve. I want to make this curve, and it's not letting me. So I go back to this anchor point, double click, and here we go. I will tell you, because I've tried it before, I can't make this curve perfect from here. So what I do is I go to the middle, do a little curve, and then I can come over here and do another curve. Now it's not exactly perfect, but we can always fix that afterwards. So I'm going to leave it. And then because I ended on a curve and because it's more of an like slender or not such a drastic curve, it's already going to be straight. So I'm going to the end of the beak here, click and drag so that it holds up, double click on my anchor point so I can make another very sharp turn, click and drag. There we go. Go back to my anchor point, double click, click and drag. Make sure it lines up, double click. So we're just sort of clicking and dragging to make sure, and then double clicking. So I know I'm not going to be able to make this curve in one big swoop. It's not going to look great and it's not going to line up. So I'm going to go, I can probably make it to like here, and I can always erase it, right? So clicking, dragging, having my curve line up. Then because I don't have to make another curve. Look at it. It's automatically fitting onto it. So I just can click and do it again. And this one doesn't line up exactly, so I'm going to drag it just a little bit. Try to get that angle right. There we go. Then double click. And this is just like the beak. So you click and drag, come back, double click. I have found that I can make all of these curves, well, I did before, hopefully it'll work today. All of those curves with just one line, like in one pass, instead of having to do a double. So clicking and dragging. Ooh, I'm going to have to fix that. That's okay. Oh, no, maybe not. There we go. All right. Double click. Click and drag, double click. This one I am making in two because it just works out a little bit better since it curves up a little bit more. And then once I get done, there's a little circle next to my pen tool, and now it is a closed shape. If I would like to fill it in, I can fill it in. There's our Twitter logo. All right, so I really, really would like you to practice this, practice the pen tool, because it's going to set you up for success. Wow, for success in your next one. Now, there are some parts, I don't know if you guys can see, zoom in here, where there's a little bit of blue. So if I really wanted to be picky, I'm going to come grab my direct selection tool, come here, and I'm going to move it up a little bit. So this guy here wasn't exactly lined up with the tip, so I can move it, and then I can come here with the handle and adjust the handle so that it fills in. Same here. I need to just tweak this handle just a little bit. So because I was doing it sort of farther out, some of it didn't line up exactly. Not a big deal. We just go back in. Oh, I just moved it. Sorry. Just go back in and modify it a little bit. And it's okay if it's not perfect. It's not a big deal. So like that curvature there, I'm not even going to try to fix that. This is fine too. If I wanted to, I could come in here like this is in a little bit, so it changes where it lies. So just moving that is fine. This looks like, if I move this a little bit, maybe if I move this handle up, it changes down there. So sometimes, and that looks better. It's just a little bit there. So you can go in. Don't forget to use your direct selection tool where you can just modify your anchors if you would like. There we go. Or mess with your handles, But I would like you to use the pen tool to create this as a practice.